welcome everyone to M365 UK. This is our June edition and a special one as well, of course, with the Microsoft Build Viva After Party. I'm Chirag Patel. I'm the organizer at M365 UK. So really, for those of you who are new to Microsoft Build After Party, this is one of many that's been happening across June, May, June, July. This was some of the pictures I took when I was at, given the access to Microsoft UK here in Reading. So it was good to get together for a day and see some of the sessions presented live by Gary and Chris and Vesku and others. So it was great to meet up finally at the this which what felt like a community event. And I hope also you attendees were there as well. If you didn't, then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that when it happens next year, I'm sure it's a live event so that at least we can see each other in person there. But just to kind of set the quick, unusual format of the agenda, usually we have two sessions, but this one is just one big session we have, taking us to about 5:30 here in UK. We'll join Bob, Kevin, Sarah in a moment. They can introduce themselves. But again, I'm very thankful to them for giving up their time and to be here with us. And so once again, thanks to Bob, Kevin, Sarah. But I'll come to yourselves in a while. The main part of the session, of course, is really just to share out some of the announcements that were made at Microsoft Build. And in particular, a session here that we're all going to watch, which is reach 270 million users and grow your business with Microsoft Teams. And it's essentially divided into sort of three parts, which I'll cover a bit later on in here. But really, the idea is throughout this session, just ask your questions and views, or if you attended Build, and just give us your thoughts about that. Then it'll be really good to understand and really help you out or share. And so we're here to hopefully answer your questions. And if we don't, then we'll certainly point you to somebody who does. But I'm sure Bob, who works with Microsoft, can give us some more insights into this as well. For those of you who are new to M365 UK, so Chirag Patel, I organize here, and for those of you who don't know me, I've been working with SharePoint, Office 365 for a number of years, keep up with the certifications and everything else that goes around to keep up with M365 landscape. You'll see Viva Explorers there. So I'm one of what we call a voluntary movement that was created by Leslie Crook and Sara Fennah for sometime last year. And for those of you who attend M365 UK, you may recall that they did a great session here as well. And the recording can be found on the YouTube with M365 UK. But essentially, Viva Explorers is all about embracing what there is to offer from Microsoft Viva, and Kevin, Sarah, who are also members of them, and others. And essentially, we just share what we know and try and work with as many as we can, and really kind of get the most out of Microsoft Viva. So you'll hear more about that, and I'm sure Kevin might post some links in the chat window as well. So there's a website that that he's developing. And so, we're trying to bring all these resources into one place. So it's a community initiative, so we don't get paid for that at all. We're just doing out of our own times. So yeah, techchirag.com that's the best way to get to me, and all the content around M365 UK, slides, recordings, you can access that through my blog there as well. In terms of how long we've been running, this has been going on for about just more than 2 years now, and as a result, I'm thankful to everyone who's attended over the years, and we have 900 plus attendees and members for the M365 UK. Hashtag M365 UK is the Twitter handle, and LinkedIn as well. So you'll find all those links on my blog, and being able to then access the relevant materials that there is. As ever, I'm always looking for speakers. It doesn't have to be a technical session. It can be a business or anything to do with M365. So it doesn't have to be a full hour. It can be half an hour, whatever takes your fancy. please don't hesitate. Submit to that link over there, and I'll evaluate the session. I'll even try and help you out if you're new as a new speaker, to try and get you to speak as well and help you out. So just want to say thanks for following for M365 UK on that one. Just to also share, summer is looking quite busy. I know for a lot of you, you may take time off, but if you do happen to be around, then, again, I've got 4 great speakers coming in July and August with various topics there. You can see on the SharePoint syntax, as well as shared channels, together with Microsoft Viva from Carolina. So that one's not more about technical, but it's more on the business side. So that one will be very interesting to see around Microsoft Viva. And then obviously you've got a session from Ragnar there as well about the minimizing the attack paths using Active Directory and the Azure from every angle that there is. So 13th July and 10th of August is the dates. They're both virtual, and I'm also planning a in-person event, which is around middle of September. As soon as I get those details, then I'll publish that on the meetup.com/M365 UK. It goes without saying, just because, for those of you who know us, myself, we speak at various events, on these community events. So if you're around in the UK, and, Comsverse is happening next week. So there's going to be myself, Kevin, as well as Sarah as well, and many others, from our Viva Explorers group, if you like. So, try and hopefully see you there. Then we got South Coast Summit happening around in October time. So nice, lovely, cricket ground in Southampton. That's a free event. And then obviously, again, Sarah, Kevin, myself will be there at the European SharePoint conference in Copenhagen, Denmark. So looking forward to some few events, but along the way, you know where we are, and I think you can try and get in touch with us if there's anything that you would like to see on those sessions there. But I think enough about me and M365 UK, and M365 UK would just not happen without the speakers or the panelists here as well. So I really appreciate for once again taking the time out, Bob, Kevin, and Sarah. So what I'll do is, before we kind of open the questions to the floor, and before we watch the video, I'd just like to give the opportunity to each of you, Bob, Kevin, and Sarah, to introduce yourselves, please. So maybe, Bob, you can start first, if that's all right.
Sure, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm really excited to be here and to meet everyone. So I'm Bob German. I am a cloud developer advocate focused on Microsoft Teams development, and I've been developing for Microsoft 365. I feel like since before there was Microsoft 365, I was a SharePoint dev for a long time. And so it's just great to meet you all and to connect with my friends across the pond. I hope I can be a little bit helpful, and I really look forward to watching the session together with you all.
Thank you, Bob. Kevin, hi.
Hello, I'm Kevin McDonnell. I'm the head of practice for Modern Workplace at a Microsoft Gold partner based in the UK called CPS. Also the co-host of the Grey Hat Beard Princess podcast. So I'll put a link in a second to the chat for those who like podcasts. We've been told it's fantastic. If you kind of want to relax, wind down a bit, put it on nicely in the background. I do take that as a compliment, strangely enough. But yeah, lovely to just let that Microsoft 365 knowledge seep through into you on that one. And also a Viva Explorer as well with Chirag, Sarah, and many others.
Excellent. Now, good to have you. I know, Kevin, you've been with us a few times at M365 UK, so always appreciate that. And thanks for being here today as well. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
So my name's Sara Fennah. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, have been for 15 years, been training for a bit longer than that. And I also, like Bob, remember Microsoft 365 before it was Microsoft 365. In fact, there was something called BPOS that I first started working with. I'm sure we all remember that. I specialise in delivering administration training for Microsoft 365 across all of the work streams. But I've got to say Teams is probably my favourite. and I am one of the Viva explorers as well. My role is the Viva realist. That doesn't mean I bring you down to earth with a bump. It means I focus on helping you deliver the products as they are today. That's my task, if you like, in that community of MVPs who are championing Microsoft Viva.
No, absolutely. I think it's great. I think it's a great space to be in, isn't it? I think with Microsoft Viva, and I think being what, I think just over a year and 3 months or something that's old, and I think it's so much happening. I think it's definitely worth looking forward to for the remainder of the year, and I think even next year, hopefully. I think it's going to be a very fast pace, I think. In terms of
and looking at it from the with the lens of Microsoft Build, looking at it from a developer's perspective, there's a lot of opportunities there for another vehicle to help bring the apps that we're working on into the users and put them right at the fingertips of the users that we're supporting and working with as well. So very exciting product to be involved in.
Absolutely. I think also it was just like last week, I think there was an announcement, isn't it, with Viva Sales, which was kind of even like us MVPs, or maybe even Bob didn't know either. Suddenly we saw this press release come out, and it was like, there it is, Viva Sales introducing. So it's so definitely watch the space. But I think
I was chatting to a few people from Microsoft who kind of went, yeah, that caught us by surprise as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Which made me feel better.
That's good. I mean, I think for you, Kevin, was there anything particular at Microsoft Build, any particular announcement that caught your attention? And maybe we can go around just ourselves. And I think then, and by all means, just before you, sorry, Kevin, Sharon, you and Andrew, anyone on the attendees, feel free to unmute. This is fairly interactive. So I think if you have any thoughts, we'd like to know that as well. But yeah, Kevin, sorry.
Yeah, I think the thing that caught my attention was the live share in Teams, and I always Builds used to be the kind of conference that was fully about developers. I'm not going to go down that chat about is it a developer conference anymore, because that's only going to open up a massive can of worms. We haven't got Andrew Connell here, so it won't set things off too much. But for me, it's always been that view of here's what developers can suddenly do with a platform. Ignite's going to be where those things appear. So we sort of saw what's it called, the fluid framework kind of get announced at Build, and then later we see the Loop, Microsoft Loop, come out a little bit after that. So you kind of see what can be done, you see the magic. To me, the live share, which is that ability for developers to build into their Teams app ways for people to kind of work together on the same thing. So many of you would have worked together on Microsoft 365 documents, Word, PowerPoint. I love the capability you can do with that. The live share is about building that. So where we've got the presentation that Chirag's doing here, other people could interact with that as well. And that kind of that live collaboration is such an important thing for meetings. If you've got an in-person meeting and you've got post-it notes, you can move things around. This is about bringing more and more of those apps embedded into there to do that. So really excited, not just about that capability, but what it's going to bring, what vendors and other developers are going to bring to that. So that was my big thing I took away from that.
Oh, cool. Sarah, how about yourself? Was there anything that caught you?
I mean, for me, working primarily in the IT pro space rather than the developer space, I actually found, I would say Build was less of an attractive event for me this year in particular, but I recognise very much that there was a lot in there for developers, which is the primary focus of it. But the only thing I would say that really caught my eye was bringing the Loop components that Kevin just mentioned into adaptive cards.
Right.
And that ability to extend further what we're doing and make it even more collaborative as we work. And it's really easy to see from all of the features that are being developed, that are being worked on, and introduced for developers, just how much opportunity there is to really extend the platform. And in some ways, this for me was much more of a taster, a a hook to get me coming back for the next conference, because there are some nice little teasers of things that might be coming in the IT pro and end user space later this year. So
no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, because I mean, even myself, I'm not a developer. I don't even write code. Certainly, I mean, if you call writing PowerShell scripts or the M365 pattern and practices, then I'm a developer in that sense, right? But I think you're right. I think for me, it helps to have those conversations. When I work with various organizations, just to, first they've got the M365 onboarded, and then it's about talking to their developers just to understand what's in it for them. Because a lot of these developers, even though they're kind of, founded with their own ways of choosing their development platforms and, the developing business applications, but when you look about Teams, they still very much don't, well, at least my clients, organizations, they don't very much get how you could extend Microsoft Teams, right? And until you don't see those examples of the demonstrations and the case studies and and the huge ecosystem, and it takes time and effort, I think, to be able to get that understanding. And once you're there, I think, yeah, you're kind of on your way to become a good Microsoft 365 developer, if you like, to cover that huge. So I think for me, I mean, I try to attend all these sessions as much as I could, but for me, that's the big takeaway, to really take the breadth and the depth of what it can do, and it changes vastly, right, every year. So I think that's good. Bob, I think obviously you can only say and share so much with what you probably know, but I think. But yeah,
no, feel free to share more.
You might be overestimating what we get to find out about, but but I'll share my favorite highlight, and I love the ones you all picked. In fact, especially the loop and fluid framework, I think is going to be really exciting. But I'm going to pick now. It's the new JavaScript SDK for Teams, so we're being very geeky here. But the thing I love about it, which doesn't require you to be a developer to love, is that we're starting to see Teams applications run in different parts of Microsoft 365. So my colleague, actually, Rabia Williams, demoed this, and she showed an app that works in Teams, and it works also in Outlook, and it works also on the office.com landing page. And I'm not going to get myself in trouble, but I'll just say more to come. Okay. And so the idea here is, you write it once, and then based on the capabilities of where you are, like where your app is running, it can actually interrogate the SDK and sort of say, hey, can I send a chat? Can I send a mail? Can I do things? What can I do from wherever I'm running? So the app could actually adapt itself to its environment. And so this is a great unification, I think, that we're starting to see emerge across all these different environments inside of M365. And I think it's going to really enrich the application, the ability to customize and bring kind of line of business or other applications that people are using every day, and just merge them right into the collaboration experience that we're all working in, so that we can work together better. And now it's not just Teams, it's also Outlook and Office, and who knows what's next.
Yeah.
So I'm just really jazzed about that.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Yeah, definitely. I mean, being able to work in any app and being able to access that experience, I think that's the key, isn't it? With the flow of work that we, or at least that's the coined phrase, like being able to.
Yeah, and I think the key of it is, and Rabia showed a little bit of this, is it's not just running the app in a different spot on your screen. I mean, we're all pretty good at Alt-Tab these days. It's like we're all switching apps all the time. The idea is that you're actually integrating the line of business data with the people you're collaborating with, and you're avoiding that whole thing of where, well, I send Sarah some customer information, and then she's got to go look the customer up in another app. So it's having to navigate over and over and over again, having to copy and paste. It's a waste of our time as humans. The computers should be good at this stuff, right? And it's also error prone, because maybe I typed the customer name wrong, and then we got the wrong customer, right? So integrating these things so that where people are working together
Yeah.
It's just I think a big game changer.
Yeah, the tight
So I'm very
integration,
excited.
that's the key, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Good stuff.
laughing at your example of typing the customer name wrong and ending up with the wrong information, because I've literally done that about half an hour ago and ended up with the wrong customer. And, you know, that integration piece would be so helpful.
Exactly. So imagine you're typing your email and you can just click a button, and this was demoed, and it's in the SDK is released, but the ability to run it in Outlook is still in preview. But you know, imagine that you were able to just click a button in Outlook and search your customer database right there, and bring up like a nice little card with all the summary information where your colleague could get everything right there without having to go and look it up.
No, that's good. That's a great insight. I think looking forward to that. I think definitely that's really going to blow minds for a lot of developers.
And given our focus on Viva, shall we bring it back to Viva, saying that's obviously what's behind the power of Viva Sales and these adaptive cards, the loop components, building it all in. You can embed that within your intranet and surface it through Viva Connections.
That's right.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about empowering as much as many people or many roles you have to be their best. I think this is what that whole integration experience, that's what it's all about, isn't it? When it comes together and, you know, with topics and connections. So,
and it doesn't matter what you call the product. It as you say, it's that integration, and all of these developer tools are really giving people the ability to build those.
Yeah.
And I think the key is it doesn't matter what that back end is. What I loved about Viva Sales is that could be Dynamics, that could be Salesforce. It's the same with these Teams apps. It's bringing the tools that are relevant to your organization, that whether there isn't an alternative for Microsoft, whether you prefer something else or using something else, whether it's completely bespoke that you built, you can bring that magic forward, and that's what's really exciting.
Cool, great. Listen, I think that's good. I think we'll continue with this discussion definitely. So let's take some time out to watch this great session that we have, and there's more demo. And I think for our attendees, you know, by all means, you know, there's no coding so as per se to do that, but I think you'll give you a full breadth and the depth of what there is in terms of the Microsoft Teams side of things. So what we're going to do now is we'll watch the session together, including ourselves as the speakers here and yourselves, so we know we can evaluate it. And then obviously throughout the time we're watching, if you have any thoughts, questions, feel free to use this chat, because that's exactly what it's for. And then once we have watched our session, then we will obviously kind of, you know, discuss on that and maybe further thoughts. So hopefully then we're good to go. So let me switch over to that.
Hello, everyone. We hope you're enjoying the second day of Build as much as we are. My name is Gladys Kempfak, and I'm a Principal Product Manager here at Microsoft. Today, we're going to show you how you can reach hundreds of millions of users and grow your business with Teams. Obviously, the pandemic has changed the way we work. Our hybrid world needs hyper-connected applications to meet business needs. For all of us, Microsoft Teams became the centerpiece of our day-to-day collaboration. Teams has reached 270 million monthly active users and continues to grow. I invite you to learn how you can tap into the huge potential and reach of Teams to transform your next generation of collaborative applications to accomplish more together. The collaborative apps you build meet users in their flow of work, whether you're building an app on Teams or in your application. Yesterday's breakout titled Building Collaborative Apps with Teams and Microsoft 365 dove deep on the first pattern, extending your app with Teams. In this session, you will learn how you can bring collaboration and rich user experiences to your app with Azure Communication Services and Microsoft Graph APIs. We'll also cover how you can reach millions of customers easily, learn ways to build applications with enterprise-level security, and launch and monetize with Teams. We have your back every step on the way. Let us dive in, shall we? I'm happy to introduce Juan Jose Sanchez, a senior program manager joining from Costa Rica, to share more about how you can easily and rapidly reach more customers with Teams and Azure Communication Services. Welcome, Juan Jose.
Thank you, Gladys. Hello, everyone. I'm Juan Jose Sanchez, and I'm a senior program manager for Azure Communication Services. And I'm excited to show you how you can bring rich communication experiences to all your applications across any device on any platform, using the same reliable and secure infrastructure that powers Microsoft Teams. With Azure Communication Services, you can easily bring voice, video, chat, email, and more communication capabilities into your apps, so you can build amazing experiences for your customers. The only limit is your imagination. You can simplify your application and use a familiar user experience by connecting your app users with Microsoft Teams. Combining a custom application experience for external users and using Microsoft Teams for internal users is especially common for virtual visits. Virtual visits are a class of communication scenarios we're helping organizations like Teladoc deliver. Let me show you how Teladoc has developed a custom experience in the healthcare arena. And hey, I must say, I love not having to visit the doctor's office in person. I can do it from anywhere. In this scenario, Teladoc created a custom experience for care providers directly inside Teams. Here, for example, physicians can schedule a follow-up consultation with a patient and send an invite to join a virtual visit. Patient receive an email or an SMS notification with details about the consultation and check in directly from the Teladoc custom app. Once completed, physicians can review the patient's information form and proceed with the consultation directly from the Teams client and the patients from the Teladoc portal. That way, physician and patient work from the apps they already know. As you just saw, the interoperability between Microsoft Teams and Azure Communication Services provides a seamless communication experience. Employees and internal users enjoy their familiar team experience, while external users or patients enjoy a customized application. And you can build these types of experiences with Azure Communication Services APIs and SDKs, Microsoft Graph, and Azure. And the most exciting part is that starting today, you can build a similar virtual visit experience in just a few minutes. To make it easier for you to quickly create an app, we have added a simple builder in the Azure portal. This simple builder will help you build and deploy a variety of demo solutions. But our first template is for virtual visits. With this tool, you can easily configure and deploy a virtual visit web app that enables your customers to book a virtual appointment and join the consultation directly to the application. Meanwhile, the staff joins the appointment through the familiarity of the Teams client they love and use every day. Let's take a look. Here, I have a deployed version of our solution. It enables me to book an appointment and join the appointment call, all directly through this custom application. To get started as patient, or in this case, as the parent of the patient, I will book the appointment. I will select Dr. Mansour, my kid's lover, and then I will select a date and time. Finally, some required additional information. Now that my visit has been scheduled, let's connect with the clinic. Notice that Dr. Mansour can go to her calendar on Teams and join it through her Teams client. Also notice that as the patient, when I click on my appointment, it will launch my virtual visit through this custom web application. Now your staff and customers can interact together without leaving their known applications. Let's now explore how this all works behind the scenes. Solutions leverage Microsoft Bookings for easy scheduling capabilities on top of Microsoft Graph. It also leverages Azure Communication Services UI library to provide a turnkey communication experience that is fully customizable, localizable, and responsive. The solution can be configured using the Azure Communication Services Sample Builder right on the Azure portal. There, without having to write any code, you can easily add your own theme and logos, configure capabilities like chat, and add your instance of Microsoft Bookings. Let's take a look. Here, I can configure the features of the virtual visit. I can enable or disable chat capabilities. I also can control who can screen share. The display on the right will show me the classic phases of a virtual visit: call start, lobby, call, and chat. And with this component, I can see how the changes will look like in real time. To add your instance of Microsoft Bookings, go to your calendar, and then to the booking page section. Copy your booking page link and paste it into the sample builder. Next, let's configure our team. Here, I'm going to type the company name. Let's now change the theme color. Let's choose green. Look great, doesn't it? And now let's add some messaging for our lobby experience. Once you have configured your application, you have several options. You can download a zip file, you can clone it to GitHub, or you can deploy it directly to your Azure subscription and have your application running in just a couple of minutes. The solution for virtual visits presented here is fully open source and can be accessed on GitHub. Developers can modify it to provide their own booking system or build one with Microsoft Graph, and further configure the call and chat experiences using the UI library and Azure Communication services. Go check it out. Look for our on-demand session, where we'll be going deeper into building other scenarios that leverage Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Graph, and Azure Communication services, like event management platforms. I can't wait to see what exciting new apps you can build next. Now, over to Nick, who will talk about Microsoft Graph APIs for Teams. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks, JJ. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Kramer, Principal Product Manager in Teams Graph here at Microsoft. I'm excited to show you how to enable your users to collaborate seamlessly without having to constantly swivel between multiple tools. JJ showed you how to embed an ACS-powered custom video client for virtual visits into your app, which was really neat. What I'm going to show you is how to embed a Teams chat into your app using Microsoft Graph APIs. To show you what I mean, consider this. Teams is a great collaboration tool, and Jira is a great work management and issue tracking tool. But how do you collaborate with your coworkers on Jira? You could switch over to Teams, start a new chat, and cut and paste the details from Jira. And then you switch back to Jira while you wait for a reply, and then you switch back to Teams for the answer, and then you learn you didn't cut and paste enough information for your coworker to give a meaningful answer, and then you repeat the whole process. Frustrating. Or you can bring your Teams chats and channel messages into your app using Microsoft Graph APIs. Let's see what this looks like with Yasun's Smart Connect for Jira Teams app, which allows you to embed Teams chats and meetings into your Jira issues. Here we have a typical IT support case. Pradeep has a ticket from Miriam that her laptop is crashing, but he needs more information from her before he can help. He creates a new Teams chat by using Yasun and Jira to ask Miriam for further details. When he does that, Miriam gets a message in Teams that not only has his question, but also the context from Jira, the issue title, the ticket number, and a link back to the full details in Jira. Miriam answers without leaving Teams, and Pradeep gets the reply without leaving Jira. And if the same issue is reactivated next week when he's on vacation, the new agent can find that conversation and be instantly up to speed. So how do we get there? Microsoft Graph has a rich suite of APIs that lets you read and send messages from your own app to other Teams users, and we've been enhancing them to let your users collaborate seamlessly from your app. Let's walk through the key APIs for creating these experiences, and I'll call out what's new. First, we create a chat thread. There's also APIs for creating channels, if that's how you like to roll. When we create a chat, we can specify whether it's a one-on-one chat or a group chat, and we specify the members of that chat. We've also recently added the ability to create chats with federated users, users outside of your tenant. Next, there's the API to send a message in the chat thread we just created. You can send a plain text message, but you can also send rich messages, rich text, emojis, reactions, images, file attachments, add mentions. If you can send it in Teams, you can send it through the Microsoft Graph APIs. Graph even goes one better by letting you send actionable cards as well, with forms and buttons like we saw in our Yasun demo. There's also the ability to @mention users by their tag, such as @mentioning the doctors or nurses in a hospital. Our third key API is to get a list of chats. We added the ability to get the last message preview for each chat. And we've also added the ability to get the viewport, that is, which messages are read and which messages are unread by the current user. Our fourth API is getting the messages from an existing chat thread or channel. We call this when the chat window is first opened to catch up on what's been said. Now you can get these messages in the order you'd see them in Teams client. Previously, you could only get them sorted by last modified time, which works for bulk messaging scenarios like compliance archiving, but isn't what you need for these interactive messaging scenarios. Finally, we subscribe to change notifications, which lets us hear about new messages without having to poll. When we create the subscription, we specify the chat thread we want to hear about and provide a callback URL. When a new message comes in, our callback URL is invoked with the details of the new message. You now have ways to subscribe to all of a user's chats and to subscribe to membership changes. We've also added rich notifications for delegated permissions, so that when you're notified of a new message, you actually get the message and not just a hint that the message exists. So using those 5 APIs, create chat, send messages, list chats, get messages, create subscription, we've brought the structure to our chats and enabled our users to collaborate without constantly switching apps. Let's turn now to how we can bring structured conversations to a meeting without having to juggle multiple app windows. Here I have the Contoso sales report, which I want to share with my team. Traditionally, I'd need to juggle between that report window and the meetings window, most commonly by sharing my screen, maximizing the sales report so everyone else can get a good view, and effectively losing my access to the meeting window while I'm sharing. Our new Share in Meeting feature provides a better way. When I click Share in Meeting, it displays that content in the meeting stage for everyone to see, including me. And it's not just a fancy screen sharing app, we're sharing the full app. It's individually rendered for each user according to their screen size. It's even interactive. Each user can highlight the parts of the report they're interested in and zoom the map to look at the details they want to look at. There's only 2 things you need to do to support Share in Meetings. First, you need a Teams app that contains a tab that can be hosted on the meeting stage. A tab is a way to bring arbitrary HTML into Teams. You declare them in your Teams app manifest by giving the URL of that arbitrary HTML and providing some information on where that tab can go. This one goes in a group chat because meetings have group chats, and this tab supports being on the meeting stage. Second step, we need a Share in Meeting button in your application that navigates to this magic hyperlink. Again, the tab is arbitrary HTML, so any way you want to build that button is fine. Just provide a deep link ID that means something to your app, the app ID of your application, the URL of the tab you want to render, and the entity name and description to display in the confirmation dialog. And that's all you need to do to create a Share in Meeting button that brings structure and context to your meetings. Let's recap what we saw. First, we saw how Azure Communication Services can power your virtual visits and virtual events with the same technology that powers Teams. Then we used Teams APIs in Microsoft Graph to structure our conversations so users don't need to switch tools to get work done. First, by bringing Teams chats into your app, and then by bringing your app into the Teams meeting. We have 2 great on-demand sessions going deeper into these topics, so check them out. Now that we've created a compelling app that allows seamless collaboration with minimal context switching, allowing you to stay in the flow of work with Microsoft Teams, I'll turn things back over to Gladys and the team to show you how to make your app even more trustworthy for enterprise customers.
Thank you so much, Nick. As a developer, it's critical that you continue to enhance the security posture of your application to grow adoption within the enterprise. With the ever-changing landscape of security and compliance risk and growing threats, Microsoft is committed to investing in solutions that make it easier for developers to build secure and compliant applications. To help me showcase 3 capabilities that will make your apps much more resilient against data loss, as well as help mitigate compliance risks, I'm going to ask Jackson Woods, a product manager on the Microsoft Identity platform, to join us.
Thanks, Gladys. It's great to be here.
So, Jackson, we've heard from many enterprise customers that they're inclined to block highly privileged applications due to the increased risk of data loss. How can developers configure their Teams apps to only access the data they need?
That's right, Gladys. So let me tell you about Resource-Specific Consent, or RSC. This is a new set of features available in Teams that lets developers scope the permissions of their apps to individual teams or group chats. This means that the app can only access data in the teams or chats where it's been given approval, rather than needing permission to access data across the entire tenant. All of our RSC permissions are called out in our Microsoft Graph reference docs and shown right alongside the standard permissions for each individual API. You'll also notice that they end with the Teams resource they're scoped to, like .group for Teams or .chat for group chats. Let me show you how to enable RSC in your Teams app. So let's configure an app to use RSC. Here, we've got a simple Teams app that needs to show a tab so it can display some interesting chat analytics about our team. For example, it could identify experts based on the topics they discuss in chat channels. To do that, we want to allow the app to read channel messages and manage the Teams tabs. Enabling resource-specific consent is easy. We'll just need to replace the standard permissions to do these things anywhere with the resource-specific permissions that apply only in the specific teams where the app is installed. As the developer who owns this application, I just need to add the RSC permissions to the app manifest, like so. In this case, I'll add channelmessage.read.group and teamstab.read.write.group to allow our app to read users' messages and then set up and manage tabs. Then I need to be sure to remove any unneeded standard permissions from the matching app registration in the Azure portal. Otherwise, users and admins could be asked to consent to those permissions, even though I've reconfigured my app to use RSC. Now that I've removed any unnecessary standard permissions, I can simply keep passing the .default scope parameter when requesting a token. And that's it. The app is fully enabled for RSC. Customers who add it to Teams will see the permissions correctly listed, referencing this team. As a developer, configuring your app for resource-specific consent means that a separate RSC policy governs whether end users can consent to your application in customer organizations. For enterprise admins, this makes app approval easier and reduces overall user friction, since they don't have to enable global consent to let users approve apps and teams that those users own. And we're not just asking you to use RSC, we've actually created a new app pre-approval workflow that makes it easier for IT admins to approve RSC apps. I'm pleased to share that in the next few months, we'll be bringing this new granular app pre-approval feature to Teams and Azure AD. This will let IT admins in your own organization or admins for your external customers pre-approve your app to be installed and consented by their users based on the permissions you request and the sensitivity of their data. By using resource-specific consent wherever possible, your app will be easier to manage and approve. We're excited to see you start using this key new capability as we continue to expand our support for RSC. Gladys, permissions are only one of the 3 development layers that secure apps use to prevent data loss. What's the next one?
Thanks, Jackson. That was a cool and swift way for developers to build least privileged applications. To answer your question around how to make apps more trustworthy, we need to acknowledge that customers must meet regulatory requirements when deploying applications in their environment. As such, we currently have an established Microsoft 365 App Compliance Program. This program evaluates both the app and the app publisher against a series of well-known security, privacy, and data handling standards, such as SOC 2, PCI DSS, and ISO 27001. We are continually evolving this program to keep up with the changes to the security and compliance landscape so you can stay current. When you get your app Microsoft 365 certified, your customer will have the confidence in deploying it in their tenant. So, a couple of perks of the program includes a trust signal indicating to IT and security admins that your app meets some of the regulatory requirements that Microsoft assesses against. Additionally, we are making an investment in streamlining the certification process. And finally, It helps remove roadblocks in the vetting and adoption process of the application in the enterprise. Recently, we were pleased to work with one of our partners, Adobe, on their certification journey for the newly certified Teams app. Let's hear from the Adobe team.
Hi, I'm David Elliott with Adobe. I work on the Adobe Acrobat Sign ecosystems team. That means I get to work with many of our key partners to implement Adobe Sign capabilities into their tools and workflows. Microsoft is a key partner of Adobe, and we've worked really closely with them to implement the deepest integrations and the richest experiences for e-signatures available in their ecosystem. As you would expect from Adobe, we take data privacy, security, and compliance very seriously. This is especially true for Adobe Acrobat Sign, as we power and protect our clients' most important documents, their agreements. As Microsoft's preferred e-signature provider, we thought it imperative to participate in the M365 certification program. As we recently relaunched our Adobe Acrobat Sign for Microsoft Teams add-in in Microsoft App Source, we thought it important, if not imperative, to launch with the certification badge. This is because we wanted our clients, as well as potential future clients, to know at a glance when discovering our add-ins in Microsoft that it was built to the highest security standards and pre-vetted by Microsoft. The certification process is very comprehensive, but the Microsoft team was very responsive, supportive, and thorough throughout the entire process. As Microsoft's preferred e-signature provider, Adobe Acrobat Sign is proud to participate in the M365 certification program. Thank you.
In addition to RSC, you can also get your application certified to make it more secure and trustworthy. What do you think, Jackson?
Well, that sounds great, but am I going to need to become a security and compliance expert? How can I keep up with regulations and grow trust with my enterprise customers to make sure they'll be able to adopt my new app?
Well, Jackson, as I promised at the opening of our talk, Microsoft has your back. We are pleased to announce a new developer tool to help you accelerate and simplify the process of evidence collection and control validation for applications built on Azure. The App Compliance Automation tool for Microsoft 365 enables you to accelerate your application's adoption in the enterprise and achieve the regulatory and industry-specific compliance certifications. In 3 easy steps, you can get full visibility of your Microsoft 365 application's compliance status. First, you create a report. Then you identify resources and define the application boundary. And finally, you can view your compliance report. You can even drill down into failed controls to access remediation recommendations. Let me go into a concrete example. If the enterprise requires encryption to further ensure the protection of the data in order to deploy the app Jackson built earlier, a developer or an ISV can define these boundaries using the App Compliance Automation tool for Microsoft 365. The tool can then automatically detect whether this application is encrypting data at rest and confirm whether the appropriate encryption algorithm has been applied. All that in just a few clicks. This tool is being integrated in the Microsoft 365 certification workflow to enable you to access your application's compliance report and submit it as evidence to get certified. The App Compliance Automation tool for Microsoft 365 is now available in preview for applications built on Azure. You can visit the link on screen to sign up for the preview program.
Wow, that sounds so helpful. I'd love to sign up for the preview, but is there a catch? How much is it going to cost to get my app certified?
I saved the best for last, Jackson. Microsoft will cover the cost of getting your application Microsoft 365 certified.
Wow, that's awesome. What's the process and next steps?
Here, you can see all the steps in getting your application certified. Our goal is to certify your apps in under 60 days, from initial preparation to awarding your Microsoft 365 certified badge, which will also be displayed in marketplaces such as AppSource and TeamStore to showcase your applications with enterprise customers. You can join the growing list of Microsoft 365 certified partners today. To learn more about how to build trustworthy apps for the enterprise, please join our on-demand session. With that, we've talked through 3 ways to further secure your cool app. Here's what you can do. 1, you can leverage resource-specific consent to limit data access in your app. Thanks, Jackson, for the great demo. 2, you can complete the Microsoft 365 certification to improve the security and compliance posture of your application. And 3, join the App Compliance Automation tool for Microsoft 365 Preview to save time and make it easier to become compliant. We also know that app discoverability and monetization play a defining role in the success of your application. So let's welcome Manav Trivedi, who is going to explain new features to help you drive business growth. Take it away, Manav.
Thank you, Gladys and Jackson. Hi, folks. My name is Manav Trivedi, and I'm a product manager on Teams platform. I'm so excited to show all the developers here at Build the work that we've done to the new Teams store. It's now cleaner, faster, and better organized with intelligent and curated experiences to make it easier than ever to get your apps in the hand of customers. Let's take a closer look. The user experience of the store has been refreshed with updated visuals and categories. The categories and industries in the store now align with the developer's publishing experience. The app tiles now provide richer information to users interested in your apps, and users can get a glimpse into categories, certification information, and more directly from the tiles. Moving on to our intelligent features. We introduced a new machine learning model that learns about the usage patterns across a user's tenant and recommends apps based on their specific needs. We're also launching a list of trending apps on the store, so users can learn what's hot on Teams that week. We're excited to have you try out the updated store on Teams, and we're delighted to share that this experience will also be broadly available across M365, starting with Office and Outlook. You're sure to learn more about it in other sessions throughout the conference. In addition to the discovery capabilities that are new to the store, we also improved the app discovery experience outside the store. We improved contextual store experiences for users discovering new tabs, message extensions, and bots within their flow by showing a filtered set of apps that support their context. For example, when a user is composing a message and discovers new messaging extensions, they'll see a more human, task-oriented set of categories so they can quickly decide what to choose. In addition to an updated Teams experience on desktop, we've got a few more updates for Teams apps on mobile. Today, millions of users experience Teams exclusively on their mobile endpoint. I'm happy to announce these users can now discover and add your apps directly from their mobile devices. Users can easily find and use relevant apps wherever they are on Teams mobile, and even add apps directly from a link or QR code outside Teams. We're just getting started with introducing the app discovery experience on mobile. Going forward, your apps will be meticulously organized to make the process of finding the right app easy for our users. We're proud of the improvements we're bringing to the app discovery and management experience on desktop and mobile to help improve the business and growth of your apps. And I know monetization also plays a key role for you. So I'll hand it over to Chandrika to tell you more.
Thank you, Manav. That is very cool to see. Hey, everyone. I am Chandrika, and I'm a principal product manager here at Microsoft. All right, let's talk next about how you can grow your business by monetizing your apps on Teams. It was here at Build last year that we announced that we were enabling the discovery and purchase of Teams app from within the App Store as well as the Admin Center. Over the last year, we have seen some fantastic examples of developers integrating monetization into their apps, whether encouraging users to take micro breaks through the day or helping law firms manage their trial dates. Paid apps in Teams are making a difference for all of our users. And just last month, we added a category to the Teams App Store, Best Selling, to highlight monetized apps that resonate with users for better discovery. The team here has been hard at work to help you create, monetize, and manage your paid apps better. Today, I'm excited to share with you two of those features. The first is in-app purchasing, and the second is license management in Teams. Let's start with in-app purchasing. When we first added monetization support last October, the only way for customers to purchase monetized apps in Teams was via the Teams store or the Teams admin portal, as you see here. Well, we spoke with developers and realized that while this model worked really well for publishers of paid-only apps, it wasn't ideal for freemium app developers. Developers want to upsell their users to paid offerings only after users have experienced the app, and they don't want users to leave the app to do it. I'm excited to share that in-app purchase support is now generally available. You, our developers, have control of when and how to upsell your users from free to paid subscriptions right within your Teams app. While some others wanted to trigger purchase experiences only at specific times, such as paywalls or after a predefined trial period that the developer was tracking, we've made in-app purchase flexible enough for developers to enable these scenarios. From a customer standpoint, the in-app purchase experience is the same one they already know from the Teams store, and they can also use the payment instrument from earlier purchases to reduce friction. Once a user completes the purchase, they configure licenses the same way they do today, and they are then returned right back into your app. Lastly, we worked to make it lightweight for you to enable in-app purchasing inside your monetized app. It requires a few lines of code to be added to your manifest to enable the appropriate permissions as shown here, and a few more lines of code to call the Open Purchase Experience API we've now made available. Again, you can choose when to call it. You can learn more by visiting the aka.ms link shown here. Now, let's shift gears and talk about how users that purchase subscriptions can manage and assign licenses. As a previous rule, it has been up to you, the developer, to develop the license management component into your solution, whether on your landing page or directly within your application. We've heard your feedback on this approach. To help streamline the experience and expedite the process for you, we will soon offer the ability for you to offload the license management capabilities to us, where users can manage and assign licenses directly in Teams. Let's look at this in action. Let's start with a Teams customer who has purchased a subscription to your app. In the Teams store, this user will be able to navigate to manage your apps and tab over to subscriptions to view their list of purchases. Here, clicking on a subscription allows this user to see all of the detail associated with the purchase. And by the way, what you're seeing here is a sneak preview of another feature coming this summer. We're enabling customers to natively manage their subscriptions, including upgrades, downgrades, and cancellations right within Teams. Moving on, this customer who purchased licenses to your app is able to manage these licenses by clicking the Assign Licenses button on the screen. The user is then taken to the license management page. Here, the user can easily view the purchase information of the subscription and the license allotments. Clicking on Assign Licenses here renders a modal dialog for the user to select users. The user can search by typing the name in the search box, and they can click to select the user. This can be done for a single user or for multiple users at a single time. Once the Assign button is clicked, the licenses are assigned to these selected users. And look at this. Licenses can be assigned to a team with a single click. A customer can search for a team by typing the team name in the search box. They can choose to add either all users or specific users to assign licenses to, all with a single action. The user can also manage licenses by unassigning them from users who don't need them and reassign them as needed. And most importantly, we are making it lightweight for you, our developers, to enable this feature if you choose Microsoft to manage licenses for your apps and users. When setting up a new transactable offer in Partner Center, you can soon define how your license management will be managed, either directly from you or by Microsoft. You would also integrate to Microsoft Graph Usage Rights API to determine the user's license permissions when they launch the app. We're excited to share more about license management in Teams and a preview this summer. Look for more updates coming from us soon. Well, these are just a few of the many new features we are actively developing to help you drive for success. And speaking of, I'd like to share a clip from Office at Work, a partner who has found success in monetizing their apps across commercial marketplace. Not only did their customer base grow internationally, but they also saw an increase in revenue and usage. Let's watch.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. My name is Martin Seifert. I'm the CEO of Office at Work, and we have a product called Template Chooser, which helps any Microsoft 365 customer to better make their own Office templates available across all applications within the Microsoft 365 platform. So I'd like to break it down into two parts if we talk about the investment here. One is the technical investment. What do you need to do to actually get into the marketplace? The other one is, what does it cost you? What's the return when you go into the marketplace? Actually, when you do turnover, you get 97% of the turnover is then paid out. So there's a 3% cut. We went from 3% international business to over a third international business. That's the amazing thing. So any ISV out there that's ready to have or thinking about transacting with an offer, this is a no-brainer. There's hardly any investment. There's big opportunity. Comes at a great financial package, and it just opens up the market for you without having to invest in sales in all these countries. The secret is to do it, not to think this is complicated and you need to wait for something. Just do it. It's an astonishing offering. Get your app in there, make it transactable, make it visible in the markets, and just start transacting. There's really nothing that should stop you. And for us, it's a no-brainer. You really need to be in that marketplace if you're on the platform.
It is so great to see that our monetization capabilities have enabled Office at Work to thrive in our marketplaces. Next, it's your turn. To get started with Teams App Monetization, please visit the aka.ms link on the screen, where you'll find resources to walk you through the 5 steps needed to monetize your app. Back to you, Gladys.
Thanks, Chandrika. Well, that's everything we're sharing today to help you reach millions of users. Here's a quick recap. Microsoft Teams has everything you need to build secure and compliant collaborative apps. And we are making it easier for you to reach the right users and monetize your apps. We look forward to seeing you in the App Store soon. Be sure to check out all our sessions at the link below. Thank you all for joining and enjoy the rest of Build. Happy coding.
Right. That was interesting, wasn't it?
It was. A couple there was some questions in the chat. One person asked for the link to the session. If you do follow that link to the session page, there are those related sessions also linked on the page if you're interested in those. The keynote as well that was referenced in the session as well. So they are all there.
Yeah, so I think thanks for that. And I was watching the commentary on the mobile there because I didn't want to, as I mentioned, interfere the desktop. But I think there's some good thoughts, questions there. I think those few questions. I think we can try and go through that. But I think for me, I think it's that whole business about embedding the chat features and the meeting experience. To me, that's just a killer app, isn't it? I think that demo about the Jira and the Teams exchange. I think Bob, you might probably know more on that. I think Kevin's got his hand up. So yeah, now go for it.
Yeah, one of the bits I think is interesting because I'm sure many people hear that the thought of developing a full Teams app. I kind of asked that question about developers. It sounds like we've got parents of developers on there, but not so much devs themselves. But you've possibly gone down the Power Platform route. One of the things I don't think it covered there, unless I missed it, was that you can actually have the kind of Teams functionality within a Power App now. So you can add that chat and things built into a Power App. So I thought that was really nice. Whether you have that embedded in Teams as a tab or not, bringing that functionality through was, yet more indications of where they're linking things together. It's the bridges you've got, the barriers you sometimes have between the different things like Power Apps, Dynamics, Teams are gradually getting smaller and smaller, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It wasn't in this session. I think there is another session to do that. I think I think that whole Graph API experience to open that up. I think to me that's the key one, isn't it? Between all these applications. I guess the other thing that caught my eye, which I wasn't aware until I actually saw and heard about that, is that permission model.
Right.
Instead of like standard permissions that we use in Teams, is that resource-specific consent. To me, I thought that was quite powerful in a sense that you don't have to worry about that whole permission management aspect of it, other than to, grant access based on the consent that's made, but also that app purchase, that snippet of code that Chandrika in that video shared. I think to me, and I think Bob might be able to help me out here, and others here. Is that the same level of resource-specific consent where you have control over the in-app purchase as well as that permissions for the app itself? Are you able to shed some light on that?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but it's I guess it's similar in its intent. If anyone here is an admin, I think it's important to understand these permissions because although it's often positioned as a developer topic, this is really you're trusting an app. So let me just start by saying quickly, like if you think about the old days and probably the computer on your desk, whether it's PC, Mac, or Linux, uses this model for at least some of its apps, which is that if you're running the app runs as the user. So if Sarah runs an app, and it can go and do anything that Sarah could do on that computer, which is sort of, I guess, from a kinder and gentler time, right? Now, if you look at your phone app, it wants consent for everything. So you've got to agree, is it okay for this app to read my calendar? Is it okay for this app to access my files? Things like that. So in Microsoft 365, that's the way the permissions work, is more like on your phone or more like the Windows Store apps as opposed to the more traditional Windows apps that you install yourself. And there's two types of permissions historically. One is called user delegated, which means that the app is acting on behalf of the user. So I'm sorry to pick on you, Sarah, but you're in the middle of my screen, so I'm picking on you. But imagine that Sarah has access to Teams 1, 2, and 3, and the app has been given files.read access, and perhaps an admin or the individual users have agreed to this. So Now the app can not read the files in team number 4 because Sarah only had access to 1, 2, and 3 when Sarah's logged in, right? And it can't write the files because anywhere, because even though Sarah could write it manually, we've given the app only read access, right? So this gives us much more granular control. The problem is that it's a bit still not quite as granular as people want. So imagine that Sarah is the CEO and this app was written by some evil person, and I don't have a long enough mustache to twirl it, but imagine I'm twirling my mustache here. And so as soon as Sarah logs in to the app, I'm going to go read files like all over the place, everything she can read. I'm going to get all these confidential financial statements from her company and do something horrible. So that's sort of what resource-specific consent is starting to deal with, is saying, look, if an administrator wants to grant this, okay. If a user wants to grant it, okay, but I want a team owner, for instance, to be able to say, well, this app can only do things inside of this one team. So it's more granular than before. Mm-hmm. So that's the good news, and that's the general direction. The other news is that it's not that widespread yet. So if you look at the Microsoft Graph, which is the API for Microsoft 365, it's sort of the main API for everything. They've only implemented resource-specific consent on the team's specific permissions. So if you wanted to go into, say, my calendar example is a bad example because that's actually Exchange Online under the covers, and they have not implemented resource-specific consent yet. So I don't have anything to pre-announce. I'll only tell you my hope is that this becomes really widespread so that you could, as an admin or even a team owner, say, yeah, this app is only allowed to read things inside of this team. So we're managing a project. So yeah, it can read the project docs, but it can't go read our financial documents. It can't go read our future product plans. And that's kind of the general direction. The commercial marketplace stuff is it's a kind of a different thing. So it's a big company. Commercial marketplace is as big as Microsoft Teams probably in terms of its scope and all the different things that you can do. So that's actually managed slightly differently, but it is a similar concept that they're introducing here. And I haven't got my hands on it yet, but there is obviously a licensing service coming out this summer that was announced in this talk that will. So right now, if you built an app like that, you would have to implement that licensing yourself. Yeah. Like we'd have the APIs for you to handle what's called the subscription, which is I'm buying a block of licenses, and Microsoft will handle the transaction like an e-commerce thing. What I love is that they're only charging 3% compared with some of the other app stores that are charging, double-digit percents and really taking a big cut. 3% is probably less than the credit card fee in some cases. So it's a pretty good deal, and we're trying to make it really compelling. But right now, you could do this with commercial marketplace. You could kind of say, well, I'm going to buy 25 user licenses to app XYZ. And then you get notified of this, your app gets notified of this, and then it's up to your app to figure out how to divvy up the 25 licenses to actual people. And that's a lot of, it's kind of duplicate work for every app that comes along. I would say if you're looking at some of the apps that they mentioned in this talk, they're kind of like household words. They've already got licensing built that they've built themselves. So they kind of don't want ours. They want to use theirs. And so they're going to want to use the current method of implementing their own and using the API so that they can kind of, if they've got license checks all over their code, they don't have to mess with it if it's Adobe or Jira or something. And I'm just using those as hypotheticals because I don't know exactly how they do it. But yeah, the new licensing service this summer, if suppose you've got your child has built this amazing Minecraft integration with Teams and is looking to put him or herself through college by selling this thing, more power to them. I'm all for it, right? So this would be
it's an idea for you, Simon.
There you go. So this would be something that they wouldn't have to implement the licensing at that point. They could just sort of say, well, we'll use the Microsoft built-in one, and they don't get quite as much control, but they also don't have to they don't have to reinvent that wheel. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, it looks like you'll be able to turn that on and off inside of different places. So
yeah, that's very welcoming.
I'm real excited about that.
Yeah, it reduces a lot of effort. Absolutely. I think you're right, because often that's a barrier, isn't it? That you got to focus on the app development and then you have to worry about the licensing side of things. So yeah, no, absolutely looking forward to that.
And it's sort of the way that Microsoft is these days. I mean, a lot of times these teams, like these engineering teams, they have a choice of put out something that works, but maybe requires a little bit more customization or custom work by the developer. Or they could say, well, let's not let anybody do it until we've completely baked in the easy button, and made it all. And so they've pretty much opted to say, look, we're going to let people do it the hard way so we can get it out there faster.
Yeah.
And then we'll introduce more and more enhancements over time to make it easier. And so that's what you're seeing here is the monetization is there now, but you got to build your own licensing.
Yeah.
And then down the road, there'll be the licensing service built in that you can just take advantage of.
Well, can't wait to see that. I mean, I think, what about Kevin and Sarah? And again, I think we got the attendees as well. So, again, as I mentioned before, please unmute yourselves. If there's anything that you saw in that video, share about it. What did you like about the video, the session, or things you were expecting that was not there? Just feel free to just say anything, so it doesn't matter. But I think while you think about that, I guess one point I wanted to cover was that demo in the first part of the session, which was using Microsoft Bookings and the Azure Communication Services. I had no idea the Azure Communication Services, the UI library, has got all those templates built, which you can plug in, which I thought was very cool in that whole demo. What do you think of that?
I thought it's really nice. I was at Comsverse last year. Tom Morgan had a fantastic talk around the Azure Communication Services that kind of piqued my interest. I haven't found an excuse to use it yet, which I'm really sad about. But that kind of whole ability to connect in Teams, we've got a lot of people who are information workers who are sat at their desk, like many of us, all day, every day, sitting there. Teams is great. But if you're talking to someone who's not, or I always remember a few years back worked with a company in Switzerland. We're trying to make things to help kind of home medical care easier. The idea that you could have a kind of interface that people could connect with there that would be web-based, that would connect to Teams and just make it easy is absolutely fantastic. It opens things up, and you're not talking about licensing users, you're talking about a pay-as-you-go or kind of certainly not a per user license, it's per usage on there. It really opens up that idea to a lot of people about getting that kind of business to consumer side. And as you say, Chirag, so many of those templates are there. You're not having to redesign and having a really shoddy looking experience. It's gonna look like Teams looks. You can make it very easy to build that into. You can customize it. You can go into all that hard work, rip it out, do the stuff there. But you don't have to. You can get that accelerated way of getting through to it, and then customize from that. Yeah, Simon, as you say, great for the NHS. My wife's an NHS pharmacist, and I'll be honest, I've been quite impressed how well they adopted during the pandemic and kind of got Teams meetings, but it wasn't easy for people. They were running Teams. I think they started with Zoom and moved to Teams, which I cheered an awful lot on there. But the idea that you could go into a website and just click a button would make life a lot easier. But then providing those people that are used to Teams, the doctors, the nurses who are living that life and the way working there, they're happy having Teams installed. Other people don't want to have to install it on their own personal devices necessarily. So to be able to offer that through a website really opens that up a lot.
Yeah, I think it's such a fast track, isn't it? I think to having not to worry about the Teams client element of it. And like you said, that having that chat inside a web page, to me, that is just the one. Because normally, I think, when you go to any of the websites, you sometimes either see that some kind of an online chat kind of thing, and you can't make out until the responses come back to you in a robotic fashion, only to realize you want to speak to a human. Whereas here, you got that perfect example of the Teams chat interactions, which, I'm looking forward to that space. Yeah. Okay.
I was just going to add that it's quite nice as well that functionality is kind of built on the core functionality in 365. So if you're wanting to prototype or demo the kind of experience that you can have with that, you can use bookings. For example, if you're doing a virtual visit application, you can use bookings and the standard Teams functionality. Say, well, this is what it would look like, but we can customize it so it's perfectly aligned to the organization. So it makes it much easier to put a working prototype together, really, for proof of concept.
Absolutely. I can see this might be a session coming up at one of the conferences.
Need to speak to Tom, don't we? I'm going to go look for that Tom's first session.
That was last year, so I was looking to see if he was doing something, because I know he's at Comsverse this year, but no, he's covering bots this year. But if you are going to Comsverse, do go and check out Tom's session.
Was it one of the recorded ones?
I think they were all recorded last year, unless something went wrong.
Yeah, last year it was all hybrid, wasn't it? I think they had. Yeah, I think this year is only a couple of rooms, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just the main room.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think just looking at the time-wise, I'd love to chat away and talk more. And I think personally, I think this format of the after party and watching a session, I think it's a great example. But for me, this is the first time, so I'm kind of hoping that for you attendees, this is proved very useful. Obviously, I think I've put in the chat window there as well the feedback, because not just from ourselves, but for your Microsoft, just to understand how this was for you. So it would really help if you. I think there's about 10 questions. So if you can, if you don't mind filling that out, then that would be really appreciated. And so it'll help us anyways. That certainly help me and Sarah, Kevin, and others as well, to how best we can make this as possible. But given that this was virtual, so there was obviously a few bits in here compared to what you could do in person. So we did try and do in person, I think, but we couldn't just work out the dates. So that was the original intent, to meet up in person. But hey, there's always next year.
Didn't we move it for Zoe, who's now decided to be on holiday? Am I allowed to bring that up publicly?
I think, to be fair to Zoe, I think it was Zoe and I that were both being awkward about the
Okay,
date.
that's all right.
But yes, Zoe was supposed to be joining us. For those who were hoping to see her, she had all sorts of changes to her schedule since we put the meeting in, and although she was going to join us from a holiday, it just wasn't working out.
No, this is the thing, and I mean, this is what we do, is community work, and we all always understand, because we all give up our own times and efforts. So these things happen, and I think I think some of the M365 UK attendees have kind of seen the service session before through other. So no, it's you know what?
But
we try and make
it's not just to host these sessions, but also we appreciate everyone giving up their time to come along and attend as well, because we appreciate it's your free time that we're eating into as well. So thank you all.
No, well said. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think coming up to 5:30, we'll start to wrap up, unless there is any questions from anybody or in the chat. I'm just going through the chat one more time, but I'm seeing a lot of reactions, so I really appreciate that. That's good. Thank you. Kevin.
Can I ask Bob a question? What are you most excited kind of from build or coming up next that we should keep an eye out for? I know you obviously can't give too much away, but what should we be keeping an eye that's going to kind of follow on from build?
Well, I mentioned the extending of Teams apps into more places. I think this monetization thing is I'm really hoping that catches on too. I mean, it's just starting, right? It just came out within the last few months that you could purchase an app in Teams. And if you think about all the things you can do in Teams, it's really just the beginning, right? I mean, yeah, you can run Word and Excel, and you can run your Power Apps, and there's a lot there. But if you think about all the third-party apps in the world and all the different things, you could get those, but with no way to charge for it. The incentive for people to build those apps was kind of limited. So I'm hoping that it leads to a big ecosystem of collaborative tools with that, and the Fluid framework, which somebody else mentioned, right? Which is, if you've seen loop components, it's the idea that everybody gets real-time updates on something on the screen. You can really start to think about some killer apps with a combination of all these things.
Absolutely. I think it's also worth mentioning that I think for some of us and the attendees, you may be aware of the cloud skills challenge as well. So I've also posted that link in the chat window. In fact, that's the one that I actually did this week myself, because I know parts of the story around the development, but this particular learning path, it takes you end to end, what there is to know, everything about the M365 build. So if you're able to, I mean, it's fully I think 26 hours worth of content and exercises, but it is worth signing up for that. The cloud skills challenge is over, of course, but the learning content is still there that you're able to access. So if you can, that's the one I would recommend for this particular session that we watched today, and to coincide with this. So yes, that's the link there. Absolutely. And I think I just want to say thanks to to Bob, Kevin, Sarah, one more time for giving up your time, commentaries and everything else. Very interesting. So really enjoy that. And for the attendees, hope you'll come back again. So 13th July is the next event we have with Marco Rocca from Italy and Joan Carlos Gonzalez from Spain. So we got 2 sessions there. There's the QR codes there to subscribe and also to submit your session as well. And I'd love to take a look at that. And then this session is being recorded, as you are aware. So I'll try and provide that recording as well, so that you could share this to your colleagues or friends or anybody. And those are the links there on YouTube and SharePoint, where this content will stay.
Great.
So I think that's it from us. So thanks for being here, everyone, and stay well and stay safe.
Thanks for putting this on. It's great. It was a really good event, and thanks for everyone who
coming all the way from East Coast, Bob.
Oh yeah, it was really hard. I had to paddle a long way.
Great. Well, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you soon in person again. I think Sarah, Kevin,
great.
Week. Bob, love to see you in person one day this year.
That would be great. Okay. All right.
Great. Thanks everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.